Let's ask the economics correspondent and expert we have in the studio, Neil Marriott.
I would agree with Tom. I don't think there's anything here for students to really vote in favour of.
Something along those lines, and clearly Nick Clegg was looking for the youth vote. I don't think I agree with colleagues here that there's any likelihood that student fees are going to be scrapped. I think
those areas in Manchester and in Sheffield, huge Labour strongholds. How much of an effect is this going to have on Gordon Brown and his Labour Party?
And also, just to let you know, Radio Solent will be running a piece on us very, very soon indeed. If you're in their catchment area, please do tune in and talk about us. We're also on Hospital Radio Basingstoke as well, so congratulations to everybody there. Our political editor, Tom Hobbs, joins me in the studio here.
I've always been a great advocate of Trident. If you go to Scotland...
outside broadcast for you now. Kayleigh, what's the latest?
OK, we're back with Luke in Southampton for a quick update. Luke, what's going on?
Well, we've seen the count start for both Southampton Itchen and Southampton Test. Southampton Romsey will not be counted here, unfortunately.
I'd like to say we're going to go pass over to one of our outside broadcast units right now. We're going up to Buckingham, the constituency where Nigel Farage obviously had his plane crash earlier today, and John Bercow, the Speaker, was standing. Kayleigh, let's go over to Buckingham.
The scene is clear from our snapshot poll that City MP and Commons Speaker John Bercow has comprehensively beaten off frenzied challenge of UKIP's Nigel Farage.
Well then, the technology worked last time. Let's see if it's going to work this time as well. Kayleigh, what's going on?
Thanks, Graham. We're going to go back to Stu and Winchester for a quick update. Stu, are there any developments right now?
Hi, welcome guys. Well, it's getting busy here. One of the main candidates has arrived, Liberal Democrat Martin Todd. I've just seen him strong.
I have the first result of the night for you here. The Labour vote in Sunderland.
The Sunderland South and Hill votes would have disappointed Cameron slightly. He wouldn't have been expecting too much movement there. Surely they were expecting Labour to take that seat, and the vote proves that Brown's stronghold has held firm there. Tories picking up 8,147 votes.
Well, what is happening with the Liberal Democrats? At one point during this campaign, they were in front in all of the polls, and their leader, Nick Clegg, was far more confident than the great Sir Winston Churchill.
Well, it's all about UKIP at the moment. Just hearing they lost out to Houghton and Sunderland South, failing to dent Labour's hold, and it only gets worse, I'm afraid. As you've already heard from our guys in the studio...
people queuing at polls in Sheffield and in Manchester. Scenes like that have been repeated also in constituencies in London. In Hackney, there was in fact a sit-in. People protesting that they can't vote.
Arnold Schwarzenegger has telephoned David Cameron to congratulate him after the exit polls were announced. The Twitter feed says, just called at David Cameron to congratulate him on the victory. Even though results aren't in, we know the Conservatives had a great day. He'll be back, don't worry about that. Anyway, the newspapers have been full of speculation that since the election date was announced. Let's go to our media correspondent, Rebecca Gray, for a newspaper roundup. Rebecca.
The Mail ends by reflecting on the years of New Labour and not in a positive light. The Guardian has got behind the Lib Dems, but their front page shows the Tories' 8-point lead in the final poll.
I'm going to put you on the spot, and I do apologise for this. What way do you see it going?
Well, it's for a small Conservative majority, and I'll stick by that.
You know, very bad result for business to have a hung parliament like that. You know, we all know we've got bad medicine to take, and we just don't know who's going to give it to us. So.
Anyway, we'll be back after this break.
Propaganda in its democratic form is difficult to detect because it can come from respected news institutions, those believed to be liberal and worthy of their credentials as journalists. The Sun, reporting extensively on politicians and their parties during the 2015 British general election, was criticised for its biased use of photography to sway public opinion. Renowned for bragging influence on politics and supporting the Conservative Party, owner Rupert Murdoch is understood to greatly influence the political outlook of the nation. To recognise the power of image as political propaganda, scrutiny of the election's coverage is required. Analysis of photographs are a good way to uncover the procedures taken to represent politicians and their parties in particular contexts. The Labour Party leader, Ed Miliband, was seen as the main threat to the Conservative Party's chances of re-election in 2015. On the 16th April, The Sun used an image to impersonate him as part of an aristocratic family. The photoshopped image shows Miliband's head cut from his body and placed on that of a fictional character from the television series Downton Abbey, which portrays the lives of the aristocratic Crawley family. Miliband, a left-wing politician campaigning policies opposed to the interests of wealthy elites, is represented as a hypocrite because of his two-kitchen, four-story mansion in London. Presentation of Miliband in this context distorts the relationship between reader and politician. Policies are insignificant due to the scale of the full-page image focusing on his personal assets. The front-page picture creates a privileged identity of Miliband, detached from normal life with the subtext of "I cannot understand you because I am not like you, I haven't experienced the troubles you all face." This leads to a questioning of his political motives and beliefs. The way many citizens learn and relate to politics is distorted by The Sun and other newspapers that take the same approach. Too much emphasis is placed on the embodied performance of politicians instead of offering a fairer analysis of what they propose for the country. Politicians, on the other hand, perform in numerous ways to try to connect themselves with the public. Many claim to have interest in sporting events and popular culture. Presidents in the US wear inexpensive watches to avoid appearing overly richer than the average man, and the British Conservative Party abstained from drinking champagne at a conference right before introducing massive spending. The Sun's photograph depicting Conservative leader David Cameron and Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, portrays the pair as paternal figures during a visit to a... The blue paint is an indexical sign, a reference to the blue of the Conservative Party. In an attempt to address public image, the party is represented as affectionate and respectable. Modern belief is that politicians should come from backgrounds they represent, but because this is not normally the case, many politicians use photography and mass media as an instrument to construct a relatable public identity. Mass reproduction of photography and the platform provided by media outlets like The Sun give politicians the opportunity to perform a connection to people instead of typically being like them. But effects of these performances aren't widespread. State Manning and Holmes, who believe that lack of spontaneity instead tends to appear superficial, and such facades are seldom convincing. Nevertheless, associating political leaders with certain traits consolidates a reality around them. Imaginary spaces open through imagery lead readers to form opinions based on the nature of the journalist's taste. Identity is formed through representation in such a way that causes confusion. The real is positioned both before and after its representation, and representation becomes a moment of the reproduction and consolidation of the real. Reappropriation of representation is conducted by newspapers and political parties to offload meaning and place individuals into new contexts. Miliband, formerly portrayed by The Sun as a man struggling to eat a bacon sandwich, is reappropriated by Labour-supporting newspaper, the Daily Mirror. Now appearing in a fashionable selfie picture, the Labour leader emerges as a sex symbol being mobbed by a hen party. Use of image in an ironic context makes visible concealed mechanisms working to frame politicians and reveals the interests of newspapers and those running them. Different newspapers invite readers to follow their chosen narrative, acting as an archive of selective information, repressing, distorting and propagating representation to support their own causes. Distraction comes when it is believed stories of this kind are related to actual states of reality rather than fabricated efforts of journalists to reappropriate existing meaning to suit the newspaper's supported framework. The same day, The Sun parodied the hen party photograph with a cartoon, portraying Miliband as nervous and uneasy. Female leaders of the SNP, Green Party and Plaid Cymru are represented as both unattractive and sexualized, clinging on to Miliband. Many feminist film theories demonstrate that when women are represented as sexualized objects for the gaze of male viewers, they become nothing more than a construction of men's desire, and almost always implies a reduction of power. Research suggests that physically attractive political candidates stand a better chance of electoral success, and perception of leaders as assertive, confident and tough in the absence of other information is also important. Newspapers waste no space when representing political leaders, often using full-page depictions to degrade political opponents, resulting in damaging personal attacks that are hard to resist or overcome.
Morning, folks. It's March 9th, 2015, Monday morning, and it's about 9:35, 9:36, whatever in the morning, Central Time. I just wanted to bring attention to a video that I have shared on Google+. Systemic fraud in all election selections. Now, you guys that have been subbed to me for a while, you know I have made the case previously about how corrupted our machines are. that the process is flawed, deeply flawed, and intentionally so. I've also made the point that it goes beyond the machines to the money. Those that get in office will represent the big money that got them there, not you or I. They do not represent us. The ones pulling the strings are the ones with the money. That's just reality. This guy takes it a step further than that. Now, he's from the UK, and he's talking about the situation in Britain, but it applies here as well. And I'm sure anywhere in the world where people are casting votes. It gives us the illusion of having a choice and having a say in our government. And it is just that, an illusion. The entire thing is a sham. It is designed to make you think that they're going to do X, Y, Z that you voted them to do. It's a lie. Anyway, I would encourage you to watch this video. Of course, I'll include the link, or you can just go to my Google Plus page. It'll be right below or beside this one, however it lays out with the Google Plus layout. Watch it. It's just a almost 9-minute long video is all. It's not that long. Excellent points made. And it ought to make you stop and think about this entire system that all of us are dealing with. Doesn't matter what the label is. Doesn't matter if it's Parliament or Republic, whatever. The powers that be, whoever you think they are, it's big money. They've systematically worked over the decades, centuries actually, but really and truly kicking it in high gear over the past few decades to get to the point we're at now, to cut every one of us out of the system of having a say. It's just something that you really need to consider. Because so many of you have watched you come election time, and you run around from video to video, yes, vote